So for this assignment, I decided to do a 2-point perspective drawing of my house. The other option that I have is the 2-point perspective of my neighbor's house. So just as we did for the interior 1-point perspective, we want to trace or track those diagonal lines or converging angles to find our eye level first. And then we'll use that as our guide for when we do the actual drawing. So if you notice with this, because of the size of this house on this photograph, the vanishing points are probably going to land outside of the image space or get pretty close to that. Okay, so it doesn't matter which lines you take. I like to take the most obvious ones. Right, so I have that, and let's see, I think I'm going to take that. Seems to be easy to follow. And then this here. So it's vanishing somewhere off in the distance out of my image space, right? Now that makes it a little bit more difficult to draw, but the other thing that I can do is, since I'm going to use these rules of perspective, I'm just going to make sure that this is perfectly straight on my source, right? So it's my source, I get to do with it whatever I want. You can actually add another sheet of paper if you want to really be able to do it very specifically. As you can see, that line goes pretty much straight on the bottom of those windows. So my eye level is here, right? So that means that I'm standing back here in the distance and I'm observing at this height, right? Stairs go up, I can barely see on top of the stairs, I can definitely see on top of that, so that means that I am on the steps are below my eye level. The top of these windows are above my eye level. The top of this is above my eye level. I can see underneath this part of the house, so that means I am below this area. If I couldn't see above this, or I couldn't see below this, then I would actually be above that. So this straight line, which is the eye level, would be up here. So this would be a good way to keep us sort of under control when we start going into the other to the actual drawings. So I'll keep this in mind of where this is. So this is going to be somewhat within the image space, and I might, on the other one, I might add that extra space or sheet of paper so that I have somewhere to go here and make my point, so that all of these lines converge adequately. It makes it easy. So with an angle like this, the thing will be to straighten this out, so it goes like that, find the center of this, project that up, and then just connect the dots, so that way you don't have to mess with the proportions, right? Okay, so that's for image 1, and then image 2. This one is a lot smaller, so the smaller the house, the easier it is. I ended up going on Google Maps and just kind of looking around the neighborhood, and it made it easier. It's probably not what the house currently looks like, but it allows me to then use this image of an exterior space, so I don't have to go out there. So if the weather doesn't permit, then this is another thing that you can do. If you're not in the location that you would like to be in, right? So you can go on Google Maps, find that location, and that way you can still do the drawing and follow this porch. So this will be a lot easier because I can probably see these points a lot clearer, and they're going to be within this image space. So vanishing point 1 is there. And now for this, I go to the corner so I make my life easier. I'm just going to keep projecting it. And then from here, I have to find a good line to sort of take that back. So maybe from here to about here might be the same distance. So let's see if that works. And then if I connect those two, even if it's slightly off, for the purpose that we need it for, it's good enough. Right, so that's my eye level relative to this house. The orthogonal lines are converging. I'm starting with the corner, right? And these lines are converging away from the house. So that's vanishing point 2. This is vanishing point 1. All right. So just as we did with the interior, you're going to be doing 2 drawings, and the drawings should be either vertical or horizontal. In this case, we're going horizontal for both. I have my reference here. I have a pretty good idea of where those vanishing points are gonna go, right? I can start here, decide how big this house is gonna be. I can maybe make it this big. I can add another sheet of paper so that I can draw the lines out. So let's get started, starting with a 6H pencil. And looking at how low that is, right, relative to that. So there's more space from the top to the eye level than from the bottom to the eye level. So I want to make sure that I reference that as I draw this on here on my 5x7. We're keeping it relatively small so that we can ink it and it's not going to be too much of a problem. So if I think about the half of this, looking at that half maybe around here, a little higher, half somewhere there, so it's a little bit below half. So if this is about half, a little bit below half, right? Eye level. Every vertical line in this case again has to be perfectly straight. If I look at this distance here and that distance there, it's roughly the same, so I'm trying to keep that relationship here roughly the same. So this vertical line starts here, the peak of the house is going to be somewhere there. All right, so I'm just sort of lightly sketching it, knowing that this is my eye level. I gotta fit all of this in here, and these lines are going to converge somewhere over there. Just going to keep that same angle. Right, anything on this side has to drop down. Anything below this line has to taper up, and then same thing with this. Taper up, taper up. So quick sketching. Don't dwell too much on that. That looks about the right width. That's a little too wide. There. I look at this line, I look at that. So it's got to be somewhere here. And this goes in. Somewhere here would be the door. Right, we're just lightly sketching in. We're not committing to anything. I'm including the windows with the shutters on it at the same time. I'll go back and fix that, so I'm not gonna get into too many details just yet. I want to first get everything sort of situated. Big spaces, big areas first, smaller ones come last. So I'm actually going to be ending up somewhere around here, but most of the house will fit. Then from here, there's a little space. This wall comes down, this wall goes up to that, points somewhere over there, comes back out. So for this one, I'm just going to do one drawing, and then you'll have to do the same thing for the second one. Right, keep the same idea. So sometimes I'll group things together and then divide. And that's it. Essentially, that's the entire thing. Now it's just a matter of checking perspective, make sure that everything functions, proportions look good, straightening out some lines before I start inking anything. Any details like the bushes and all that stuff will come in when I start inking the drawing. At this point, it's not necessary. So right now it's just making things function, and then we'll get into details.